Good evening. We are live. We are back, and welcome to Social Talk. This is a show that we were supposed to be having yesterday, and we had data issues. I cannot let this show go and say that I postpone it to next week because of next week we'll be having another guest, which I will probably tell you at the end of the show. Today we still have our dynamic young people who will be talking to us about a way forward. Yesterday, I mentioned Haneke Toma, and I said adversity has a way of bringing us together or revealing our greatest strength or the strength that you didn't know about. And my question, Haholo, is how do we use this momentum that we have created due to the happenings in the last 2 weeks? And then today, these young people will be talking to us on how do we actually make sure that this momentum doesn't only end by cleaning the malls or cleaning the schools or any other infrastructure and guarding them, but it extends. How can we extend this energy into our society, into a positive thinking or a positive outlook or even results? Now, before we even start, as I welcome all of you, I want to say happy birthday to the EFF. They're celebrating 8 years today. We got to give it to them, whether you like them or you don't. They've made an impact in the country, positive or negative. I'll leave that one up to you. And then an introduction to our speakers. Busisi, where's this Busi? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Okay. Tell us something a bit about yourself so that people know who is Busisiwe Maye. How do you pronounce your surname again?
It's Mayiko Espedi. Mayiko.
Okay.
Yes.
Mayiko. That's correct.
Yes.
Tell us, who is Busisiwe?
Busisiwe is a young lady from Mzimhlope. She's passionate about nutrition and wellness. She is also passionate about children's entertainment and wellness program for them. And she has a 10-year background in horticulture with one of the municipalities. And right now she's living her truth.
And then explain to us, because of now you are using big words that we don't understand, and I'm too old to be learning big words. Unless you can just say what is horticulture?
Horticulture is about vegetation. It's about the management of vegetation, the grass cutting, the flowers, the trees, yeah, basically. How do you take care of them? What do you need to do to water them? And it also has landscaping. Landscaping is beautifying your garden.
Okay, all right. In a more complex and larger scale.
Yes.
Okay, I feel you. And Kinali, another young man, Sbusiso. My brother, how are you?
Very well, thanks, and you. Thank you so much for having us, Mr. Immanuel.
Yes, Mr. Ntuli, tell us, who is Sbusiso Ntuli?
Togoza Bagwetu, Ikamalamu Sbusiso, and I'm a youth from Soweto Diepkloof, and I was raised to always look for the greater good in society and make sure that I don't become a waste of space. So I'm the founder of the Last Ultimatum Youth Consortium, and I'm an inspiring partner for the creation of Cleaner Soweto, which was founded by Lucy. And I'm just a friend in need.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's very interesting because of actually the start of everything. It's the journey of you guys putting community members together and people, I hear by numbers that are growing every day, together in cleaning the malls and infrastructure in Soweto. And maybe you can tell us a bit about that, because of before. Maybe tell us, because if I have some questions, especially on that particular one, on how you guys have come up with this and how is it working.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah.
Basically, one day is one day, as they say in the stories when they start.
Yeah.
I get a WhatsApp late at night, and Ubusi sends me a voice note in ordinary fashion. Atigim, Sbu, I don't have lights, I don't have electricity, but I can see the country is burning. We need to clean. And then I'm like, clean what? It's like, Sbu, I don't know where we're gonna start, how we're gonna start, but we just need to clean. We need to clean it. And with that being said, I believe that the definition of clean stands for cleaning is the process of removing unwanted substances such as dirt, infectious debris, agents, and other impurities.
Yeah.
With that, we just literally started to think about how the process now is not that we need to clean up someone's mess, because it's not someone who created this mess. It's a system that kind of came to a self-destruction, and we needed to look at it holistically, but we needed to look at a point of engagement or a position of engagement which we could be able to sufficiently be able to tackle with our capability and our immediate resources, which was our hands. And yes, that's my side of how I believe Cleaner Soweto was started.
That's quite interesting. Busi, what was going through your mind during the night when you didn't have electricity, that you had to send a voice note to Sbu and say the country's burning? What was going through your mind? Why weren't you worried more about electricity and worried about the country that is burning?
I think living in Soweto, dark city is normal. So you kind of have to, you find a way to live through it regardless of what is happening in your life, So I thought I can must I go to the other side, because I was receiving calls. Soweto is burning. What are people doing? We're going to lose investment. We're going to do this. It's not safe. You guys need to leave, and I knew without a shadow of a doubt in my heart, Guti, I want to help become a solution. When I saw our people looting, it was for me, it looked like something that was done unnaturally, like I understand. I just saw them and I knew Gucci the way they were looting. Nobody loots in broad daylight unless you're a thief. Do you know what I mean? So with me, it was just that I didn't care what was happening around me. I just wanted to save Soweto.
I hear you. Then you guys got together and you came up with this clean as Soweto. And I like how Sbu has mentioned it the other day, and it cannot just leave my tongue. Clean as Soweto, because I loved the mention that you would want every city, or maybe let me hear it from you first. How did you develop that? Then when you came together, how did you move from where you are to now the works that the guys were doing? Busi.
So in principle, whenever we think of the township, we remember a very dark time, which was where there was a dark cloud over our neighborhood. Let me also stop calling it a township. So in regards to that motif, I felt that we needed a word of endearment especially in these dire times. And I deliberated with Busi a lot around the context of what we're doing, the inspiration behind the narrative of what we're doing, because a lot of people like to look down on people who are doing vocational work, and these are the type of things that could actually help our economy get a little bit better in these unglorified neighborhoods such as Soweto. And also being part of a neighborhood where my predecessors were able to make sure the environment is clean. They were able to make sure that there was economic viability within it, which is Deep Kloof. Like Deep Kloof, it's no secret that Deep Kloof is a very prosperous area within the township, and they call it a suburb. Why can't the rest of Soweto look like that? And we believe that cleanliness, yes, all of us understand that phrase that goes, cleanliness is close to godliness. So in regards to clean as Soweto, which in principle is three words, it's clean as Owetu, right? So as Owetu means ours, as clean as ours. And obviously, if we look at it in one context, it becomes cleaner Soweto, which is clean Soweto. And then obviously then there's the reference, which is then clean as Soweto, which then becomes the benchmark. So ultimately that one word is a standard that we now want to set from the destruction. So basically cleaner Soweto is the phoenix of the new neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually the part that I liked, the clean as Owetu. That I don't know whether it was Busi or Ryusbu who are saying it, that it can be a model for every township, that when everyone does any cleaning, they can say we want it to be clean as Soweto. That it can be a model for other townships. Now, Sisbus, tell us then, what was the journey like in from the start, and you being the founder, the visionary around this thing that says something needs to be done, to where you are now currently?
The journey was amazing, eh? The journey was amazing. I thought it was going to be hard to convince fellow Sowetans to clean up our neighborhood. But as we go around in different suburbs in Soweto, we meet like-minded people like ourselves. People want Soweto to be clean. People want to be involved in developing the community. People no longer want to sit and wait for somebody to come and rescue us. So the journey started with a few people who are like-minded, who invited other people, and now are building the new Soweto. That's the journey.
Yeah,
Now we've moved. Yes.
Yeah, and where are you standing currently with that journey?
Oh, right
I mean, how
now
many people were you able to attract, and how many people are, what's the activities now? Where are you standing?
Oh, okay. The activities now, we are standing at 400 members. 400 members of Sowetans. We've now registered it as an NPO. We have stockholders who want to help build Soweto. We have community leaders who want to spread a cleaner environment. Yeah.
Well, there's now engaging both of you, I think, and Sbu. There's this thing that people get too attached to events, activities that happen on the time. Like now there's going to be cleaning, and what do you guys, what's your vision? What's going to happen after the cleaning? If you clean a spot and then it's clean, the malls are clean, the parks are clean, probably what next?
That's a great question. So uh Busi then started to scrutinize, the actual activity, to say, okay, look, what is the actual cause? Because obviously Busi's got the background in uh the city parks. I don't know if she mentioned. So Busi was working in
Yeah.
city parks for some time, right? And she was saying that
Okay.
there's a lot of these white elephants. So you've got so many dilapidated buildings that used to be economic hubs, that used to be little delis and little places for people to purchase stuff. I won't call them
Mm.
malls, but we can call it like a plaza or something to
Yeah.
the side. So after the cleaning, we were like, okay, because we started getting calls. People are like, okay, yo, Smooth, Boosie, we don't mind volunteering to clean, but you know what? What's the next step? Because
Mm.
kahle kahle, I don't have work to go to exactly. So I was volunteering here because I was hoping that there was at least something that was going to come at a later stage. Now, if we look at science, you've got after any destruction, there needs to be another process that takes place. There needs to be another process that manifests, and that manifestation is caused by action. Now, the action that takes place is in context to what happens in the mind. People need to start looking at not what do we do now. Let's look at what is the cause, because that is still a motif of action. That is still constituted as action by taking introspection. So communities now need to debrief, because number one, we cannot say that any of the acts that took place were justified by law and justified by humanity. The second thing that we need to do is understand that the cause is something that was systematic. Because if the system was not broken, there was no way an event like that could have taken place. Which it's been building up. It's been building up. And whether or not we like to admit it, there's a lot of things that were underlooked. There was the person who was on the ground, and I'm not in any way justifying the fact that we must promote a grant system in a debt-based economy. There's no way where I'm justifying that. However, we know that there is a classification of living standards of people who are living below the threshold. But
Mm-hmm.
is it better than other in deeper parts of Africa? Of course. Are there certain luxuries that people are afforded? So we cannot say exactly necessarily that this is poverty compared to other African countries. But let's track back a little bit. We must understand that the habitable damage that has been caused by those frustrated by looking on the outside and seeing the depiction that everything is fine, but yet inside they feel a lack. So
Mm-hmm.
the quickest solution to restoration is not what can I give you to subsidize the pain. It is how do I empower or install something? How do I deposit, or how do we deposit collectively into one another that reinforces that missing gap that said you are not worthy, you are poor, you are inefficient, you are useless, you are throwaway society. Because, like it or not, there's not the other side that is classified as the throwaway society, and many of those will understand in context what throwaway society means. But we cannot, from this day forth, we can no longer look at ourselves as a throwaway. Because if we want to imprint an energy within the livelihoods of our communities, we must take a certain responsibility to saying, okay, let's take away the grant. Now, I'm not saying take it away. I'm saying let's remove that from our minds. Let's remove that as something that's being put in our plates and saying, okay, this is this is my sedation. So if without this thing, can I still live? Yes.
Now I hear you. So,
Let's remove
yeah.
alcohol. Let's remove alcohol. Can I still live? Correct.
Okay. I hear you. I think I like what you're saying, because to me maybe it interprets to this, just confirming that I'm getting what you're saying right, that in spite of all the the causes of what we have experienced in the past 2 weeks, it is still possible. We are not late. We can turn around the situation. There is something that can be done in order to fix the situation. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I think on that note, then I would want to know. I mean, you guys, both of you are entrepreneurs, right? And you have engaged yourself into a selfless drive. You're not making money out of this, but you saw the need of coming out and saying, guys, something needs to be done. So I just want to know from you guys. Maybe if Busi, you can jump in and say, in your sphere of business and what you're doing with the children and your experiences around your area, if I can give you a task and say, what do you think needs to be done maybe in the next 3 months to make a meaningful impact in your area, what would that be?
I think with me part of children's entertainment was part of making that positive impact, because I realized that when you're a child growing up in Soweto, you're forced to grow up fast because there's not a lot of places where children can express themselves freely as children. You know, what I always tell their parents is, "Good, you know what, guys, indaba zenu ngizazi zonke," because the kids are short, but they sound like us. The kids are going through the same things that we're going through.
Yeah.
So my program will then my program for the kids is to give them a space where they can express themselves as kids while between the age of 6 and 12 years old. You know, the kids in Soweto, you just like, when your definition of fun is having fun like an adult, meaning having a drink in your hand and having a boyfriend or girlfriend or going out partying. So right now, my first phase with them is to give them food that makes them happy. The second phase will then have a huge building where kids can express themselves musically, where kids can express themselves with their many talents, a dancing school for them in one building, hair salon where they can share their experiences as kids. Because as we all know, hair salons is a place where people share their lives.
Yeah.
So for me, a part of Happy Land is addressing the kids. The kids are being
Okay.
ignored in Soweto. That will be
All
the
right.
first one. And then for the men as well, I think our men, every other day you hear about Imbogoto, you hear about, it's Women's Day, women's right, women equality. I think the men in my neighborhood need a place where they're able to talk about their experiences, because Konamanje, you find that there's an imbalance. Everybody's always trying to empower them, but nobody is empowering the men to match an empowered young woman. I think if we can just address the men, let them know, good, as much as we are women, as much as we are being pushed forward, but there's nothing much we can do if our men are lagging behind. Yeah.
I get reminded though of
the men and the children.
Okay, I get reminded. I hope I'm getting emlonyeni. When we grew up, we used to have youth clubs where young people can go, and there will always be somebody who is slightly older, and then we will be sharpened in my youth clubs, in terms of your behavior, in terms of your goals, encouraged in doing certain activities in life, whether it be drama, singing, and stuff like that. And I'm wondering if we still have those in our times. Are there people who are actually saying they'll stand in a gap and take young people and put them into certain spaces to grow them. But I know also, Sbu, you also have something that is more around artist based, isn't it? What do you do? Generation Rise or something like that?
It's Arise TV. So
Rise
Arise
TV.
TV, yeah, Arise. So it's small A, capital letter RISE. It's basically small A, which is the Africa to the power of rise.
Come again?
It's small
I
A.
probably missed that one.
It's small A to the
Yes.
capital rise. A Rise TV.
Okay. Oh, a Rise TV.
Yeah.
And what's happening there?
So
If you can
basically,
share a little about it.
Arise TV is a platform where I spotlight youth development and youth leaders within their capacities, such as music, entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, anything in the impact areas. We did showcase one of the youngest authors in Africa. She started writing her books when she was 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She's 9. She's written 11 books. And in regards to, I believe that there's not really a platform other than your Yo TVs, Hectic 99, KTVs back in the old days, Mr. Chinwak and stuff like that. There's never been a show that critically scrutinizes the things that young people are doing and putting out there. I believe that if we had a platform that was where we were seeing more of the Vusi Tembogwayos and what they were doing in their groundbreaking as Toastmasters, if there was things that we were able to see in the sports arena, where if we could have seen how the development academies were being set up, and what they were doing to groom the players that we're currently seeing at top flight football, those are the type of things that behind the scenes I think would have been functional for us to see growing up. So I believe that Arise TV is a platform that allows us to take away from the reality and the perpetuated lifestyle living, and gives us the real nitty-gritties of how can we receive content that is ontological, that reciprocates good values in people and building more functional human beings. I know that we've got a lot of AOD, which is advertising on demand content, which is prioritized on selling things. So even though you're watching a show, you're not watching the show for the principles or values that the show is breeding. You're watching a show because somebody's selling with an agenda. They're subliminally messaging things and they are imprinting things in people's minds. And then at the end of the day, now we've got people destroying things. So I believe that the way society will continue to see things is because of the depiction we give them. And I believe on mainline TV, and I'm not going to mention anyone's name, but I believe that in mainline broadcast TV, there's a lot of things that disintegrate the black household. It talks about things such as broken homes. It glorifies that. And these are the things that we populate on our TVs. We've even got our children mimicking these people on TikTok. And honestly, for me, I decided to stop getting upset a long time ago. And I said, you know what, I'm not going to fall into line with this with these taxi violence stories and all of that stuff, because I've also been in quite close proximity to understanding that these are people with functional agendas of moving the narrative forward. And I know that our people don't have the necessary resources to inform them about things that make them better people. So that's why there's this TV.
I hear you. But then my question would be to you, probably challenge you and say, how do we change the narrative? What way do you see, what channel do you think, or path do you think we should use to change the narrative? That means moving from the mainstream media with its agenda. How do we change our people? Let's just boil it down. Small thing. Let's take it to Soweto. How do we impact the youth of Soweto to change from the influence of the mainstream media to something that is positive and that will build them or beneficial for them in the next 5 years? What do you think maybe is the best way to do that?
So the best way to do that, and I learned this Sunday when I attended a lecture at the Great Empire of Kemet, that's here in Orlando West. On the 23rd of September is going to be the New Year's, African New Year's Day. In the Hindi culture, you've got Diwali. In Christian culture, you've got Christmas. And in all these other different religions, you've got all of these different types of holidays. You've got Ash Wednesday, you've got all of these different types of things. I think that this year, 2021, on the 23rd of September, we need to honor ourselves as Africans. And we need to celebrate World Africa, like the real World Africa Day, not the MTV-based glorified and sensational day. This 23rd of September, we need a stadium that is going to have Africans packed. We need to have an event where all the African countries, where we get rid of this xenophobia nonsense. Ghana, Kenya, Malawi, Mali, Tanzania, South Africa, Swaziland, Botswana, Lesotho, everybody. And everybody must have stands there teaching people about the things that they don't know about the African brothers and sisters. Ethiopia, everybody needs to be there. On the 23rd of September, everything must stop. And they must see how united Africans are. The minute that can happen, we're never going to need to beg anybody for anything.
Well, I hear you. And, my only concern, besides the COVID issue, that we hope that everybody's vaccinated then and we can be allowed together, it's that is important in a case of an identity. And we need to find our roots, not influenced by Western. But the bigger question is, yes, that speaks to the person. But how do we move then, like filling up the stadium on the 21st of September, how do we move our young people to say, now we need to shift their mind into thinking towards our future, into building ourselves, into creating a more stable Black person? I understand we cannot do that in policy or in writing, but how do we reach the hearts of young people and say, listen, Mendoza, we used to say, and they are still on the corners. How do we move them from the corners to something that is sustainable in their lives?
The honest truth is, you cannot force the horse to go to the river. Yeah. And it's about time we go with those that are moving. I am unprovokingly saying that leave them behind. Yeah, move with those who want to move with you. Anyone who doesn't want to move, leave them.
Okay, I guess everybody's interested in a moving car. So only when the car moves, they will be interested to follow. Sis Busi, now tell me, on your side, I know that. Oh, I believe Gucci Sis Busi is currently gone. It's just the two of us on a set. But okay. With what you're doing currently, and as you were saying, there's two things that I wrote down that I wanted to ask you, and probably it will be a rephrase of what I've asked already. And the first one being, you spoke about a 9-year-old that has been writing books since the age of 6 or something like that, and a couple of books. And I'm saying, how do we? I know that people have special gifts, but how do we kind of duplicate that and say, how do we encourage other young people who can be having writing abilities, using that one child to impact others along the way? Some of them can sing, some of them can probably draw, some of them are thinkers, they are good with numbers. How do we actually make sure that we reach other young people with the diamonds that we know that we have currently?
That's a great question, and a practical suggestion would be, in my community in Diepkloof, right? There is the Zotto Koza Foundation Skills and Entrepreneurial Center, right?
Okay.
And it focuses primarily on providing a facility where people can get access to information sessions. They can get access to a facility that can enable the conscientization of a close-knit community where people are doing programs for personal development, for vocational development, for industrial development, and digital development. And I think it's not the only communities where this exists. Like Vusite Maguire always used to express that, he tried to do something like this in Venda, and people then broke it down. You know what I mean? So we need to start respecting these types of centers in our community, because they're not just there to be a by the way kind of or feel good kind of entity. These are actually practical things that if people were able to apply their minds and just look at the center. I mean, if we look at Funda Center here in Soweto as well, people have neglected it. The grass is not cut there. These are supposed to be centers of priority. If we look at Soweto UJ campus, opposite there, you've got the Soweto Towers. The only thing, you can't tell me in this whole time, people have only thought of it as being, oh, wow, what's this, Panyaza or Chafpozi?
Yeah, bungee jumping.
A club. But yeah, well, bungee jumping, at least it's an activity that gives you an adrenaline that makes you realize that your life can end now. If this string snaps, you're going to fall in there, and then you come back to reality and you're off the ground for a minute. Now you're back, and it's like, oh, wow. But the thing is, now what do kids want to be when they grow up? They want to be what they see. And the only thing they see, 4 times a day, a child is walking from home to school. And how many bottle stores does that child see?
How many sponsorships does
that child see? And he must walk back, and he must go to his friend's house, and they must send him for bread. And every single time he's seeing somebody pass with a cigarette in their mouth, with a beer in their hand, and driving a pole or driving a GTI, and busy going all over.
My brother, I hear you very well. And my question still stands, that you have listed Abofunda Center and all these other facilities that are there. And initially, well, most of them functional. But still, our young people, not in those places. There are libraries in Soweto. There are good libraries in Soweto. And I'm saying, how do we move our young people from the street corners to those libraries? And I'm talking to you as a young person, because I'm saying the challenges that they face are the challenges that you have faced somehow. You are nowhere near where they are. So as a young person in today's generation, probably Tina's Kukile, and it's like, he doesn't understand. Life was not like this in his time. How do you see young people moving from where they are now to where we need them to be? We need them in libraries. We need young people in doing those activities, because it's a good investment for themselves. But how do we move them from the street corner to the library, to those activities, to those institutions that you are talking about?
Like, I know there's a particular answer that most people give. They like to give, hey, I would say they must read more, they must do that. The truth is, that's not the answer. Like, let me give you a little bit of background about me, right? I used to be on substance abuse. I used to be on substances since I was age 15, right? Obviously behind my parents' back. This is not something that was known to them, right? Then I got to a certain age, like literally beginning of this year. That's when I stopped. No one took me to no rehab. No one took me to no special counselor or something like that. I've still got my own traumas. But the only thing that has changed within me now I'm 30 years old, right? So that's literally a career of 15 years in substance abuse, right? I had to be honest to myself. I had to start looking at the lies that I believed about myself. And I needed to introspect and say, geez, I'm 30 years old. I don't have a house. I don't have a child. I don't have the things that I necessarily wanted. I've had an opportunity to have these things and I squandered it, right? I had to be honest and
Okay.
say, you know what? There's time I wasted. And now I'm getting to the point where I need to make a very firm decision. What do I want my life to be? What do I want to necessarily understand about this opportunity of life that I've been given? And how do I make sure that it's an opportunity for somebody else to learn from? The best way to
Yeah.
get somebody out of the streets and into the centers is to become a personal example. If we don't have personal examples within our community that are interacting with us about honest experiences, we'll forever have a saturated society. If the only way for us to believe we will make better lives of ourselves is by seeing these people on TV, we are doomed. And that's me putting it lightly. So with me
Agreed.
making a Rise TV, that for me, I would say that's my contribution, because I want to make leaders of tomorrow. I want to make
Okay.
people who can understand that it's not only about how I look on Instagram, and what they see me driving as a result of the platform I'm on. Like, I'm driving this, I look like this. Mina ngizibona
Okay.
nginjani.
Let me slot in there.
Mm.
I have a question before you go far. I'm sorry to just cut you. The question is there. You had your own past, right? And you were substance abuser. Are you saying that for you to come out making a decision without going to a rehab, are you a special case?
I don't think so.
You don't think you're a special case?
I don't
Then
think I'm a special case, because
surely there's a young man out
Mm.
there that you can influence somehow to be able to see things the way that you were able to see them. Because it, like you're saying, it's not that you are a special case. You were able to do it and made a decision. And probably my thinking is, how do we then make a lot of smooths who can actually go to the ground maybe once a week and say, guys, I am Sbusiso, this is what I'm doing, and this is what I used to be. If I am able to move from this point, you can be able to make it also in life. How do we make that will and try to turn things around?
So the testimony is on the 23rd of September is where our identity starts. That's our
Okay.
new year. That's our new year. So challenge yourself to get to
Yeah.
relearn yourself without the things that society says that you are. And maybe parents and maybe immediate family members should not judge that person who's going through that journey. Because
Okay.
let's say he's doing all of that, and I know so many people have had that uncle, that uncle who is like, hey, no, it's Tahawa, or it's something, or hey, he lost case or whatever, but the family's
Yeah.
learned to accept him. Leave the child and let the child understand that whether he destroys himself or whether he fixes himself is okay. Because at the end of the
That is
day,
hard to be a parent. Eh?
I understand.
As a parent, I can tell you that.
It's not like in that state. It's not something I'm proud of. But the way I'm
Yeah.
applying myself now is not because there's somebody's watching me. It's because I've made myself watch me. I've turned the magnifying glass on myself. And the minute we start doing things for society to accept what we are, then you will see the real energy of that potential. Because I can tell you now, I've had countless of conversations with Nyaupe boys, or let me not say Nyaupe boys, but the children who are kind of in that state of darkness, and half of them, I can tell you now, are geniuses. It's just that they're bored.
Of course.
They're just bored. Nothing stimulates them enough, and they haven't been given the environment to thrive. So they obviously look for alternative methods.
Okay, I hear you, Sbu. Now, before I close, because of now we are getting to the end of our show, I would want to give you an opportunity. A-Rise TV, there's a certain kind of what are the requirements for artists there? Because of there's something that you are doing, 100 and something hours of music. Tell us about that. Tell us how do they get hold of you and engage in the project. I know there are young people out there who says, I have been having this, library of music. I want to get it out there so that people can hear it. How do they get onto the channel?
So what I'll do is I'll share a link with you that has access to our spreadsheet where people can sign up as artists. You need to have a 30-minute performance, and you need to state clearly what is the theme of your performance, whether you're a band, whether you're just an individual artist with a backtrack, whether you're a DJ, whether you're a comedian, whether you are a motivational speaker or a poet, etc. What are your requirements? Do you need 2 microphones? Do you need 3 microphones? Do you need a drum set? Do you need a guitarist? Do you have a guitarist? What are your immediate needs, and where are you located? Everything is in the spreadsheet, and you will need to then prepare your 30-minute set and to the closest area to you, whether it's nationwide. We are looking at setting up recording spots. So from the 4th of September, we will be pre-recording all of the performances, 15 artists a day, 15 performances a day per venue. We are working with 39 different venues. So for 7.5 hours each day, you will be performing, and then we will start the broadcasting of the 200-day concert on the 20th of October.
Okay. All right. So is this a pre-recorded thing? That who does the pre-recording? Are you doing the recording for them?
So yes, so they need to come to our centralized spots, and we will pre-record their performances, because the logistics and to abide by COVID regulations, we wouldn't be able to facilitate 3,000 artists going in and out of a venue. So we wanted to break it up so we could give as many people a chance as possible. And then obviously the stuff that doesn't need too many people around, we would just literally conduct those broadcasts on site. So it's to give everybody a chance and to make sure that the quality is consistent, because we are going for a Guinness World Record.
Oh, okay. That will be awesome. Now send us, I know you send us a link, but for those who are listening, how do they get hold of you?
So let me just get the number, because now as much as I would like to be everywhere and doing everything, I can't. So they say a good form of leadership is making sure that there is a team involved. So this is Jamina, who is one of our head producers, who also graduated from my Self-Start course. I've got a course that I ran with the Gauteng Film Commission, and she's one of my graduates. Her number is 079 750 1871. Her number again is 079 750 1871. Her name is Jamina. You can WhatsApp her and you may call her.
Okay, and Jamina will probably help everyone who can contact the number. The number will be on your screen right now, and then you'll be able to contact Jamina, who will tell you about how many hours are you aiming for, Sbu?
4,500.
4,500 hours.
Correct.
Wow, that's awesome. We are right behind you.
And another question you asked, you were saying, what can we do to make sure that we change the narrative? And the answer to that is we need to launch our own satellite.
Yes. That's you have a minute on that. You said?
We need to launch our own satellite. Without
we need to launch our own satellite.
Without infrastructure, we can't own any narrative.
I agree. I agree 100%. Man, you have big dreams. I love your spirit. I love your energy, and I wish you the best in, you know, the production and everything else. I would probably, I don't know. I thought I'll come in and put on my 30 minutes, but I don't want to spoil your show because I'll win everything. That's me. My friend, thank you very much. It was awesome having you. And Busi's not here. It was awesome having her online as well. And from me to the team, thank you very much to my technical producer, Chokozani Ngubeni, to my content producer, Kilebuki Lesfona, and to everyone who have watched. Ibe Bro.
So it goes.